This is the Bullseye Podcast.
Oh, yes. I have to stop all the calls coming in. I have one thing to say to all of the folks listening that want to hear more about the Bullseye podcast program. It's called Long-Term Contract. You know what I'm saying? Might as well, you know what I'm saying? We got to hold out here for getting such great reviews. This is Bullseye on the Bullseye Network, on the Bullseye Podcast, on the Bullseye frequency of your life. And welcome back.
Now, what are you holding out for? How much money you want? Like $5 million a year?
I just want to see a contract
what's
first.
Your price?
Well, what are these other schmoes getting?
You don't have a contract.
What are the schmoes getting? What is?
You got to keep doing this for a while.
Well, I have to prove myself.
You got to get a contract first.
I prove myself.
Prove yourself, yeah, and then we'll pay you a few million a year.
I was going to say I want to introduce a man who has never been asked to bunt in his life.
Who, me?
Right? Has a coach ever asked you to bunt because he knows you had a good stick?
I did bunt.
You have bunted.
In Little League, I bunted, yeah.
In Little League.
I was a good bunter, yeah.
Right.
I laid it down the third baseline, yeah.
And I want to introduce a man who is quite impressive on the links out there in St. Louis, who's joining us back, St. Louis Bob. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing fine, Bullseye. Great to be here.
I know you're playing a lot of golf these days. How you hitting them, as they say?
Well, I hate to say it, but sometimes I'm hitting it too many times. But
not good.
I know. But I'm competitive. I play a couple of times a week with about anywhere from 15 to 20 guys, and we throw money in the pot and play greenies and skins and putts, and so it's a lot of fun.
Well, when I think of you, I think of not just the St. Louis baseball Cardinals, but the St. Louis football Cardinals, Jim Hart, Mel Gray. I love those teams. Tell me about your memories.
The Big Red, I tell you, they were something else. I mean, I started following them back in the 60s with Charlie Johnson as the quarterback.
Wow,
I mean,
number
that goes
12,
way.
Charlie
number
Johnson.
12, Charlie Johnson.
Remember Charlie Johnson?
I don't remember Charlie Johnson. Well, should I remember him?
You should remember him, I think.
Number 12, I remember Jim Hart. But
Charlie Johnson was before Jim Hart, right?
In the 60s.
Right, yep.
In the 60s, okay.
There's a lot of people listening to our show think we're nuts. Like, who's talking about Jim Hart and...
What's his name, Charlie
Johnson. I think he played for the Giants,
too. Give me some stats. How many TDs did he throw? Yards? What's the deal with him?
Well, I guess he was up with one of the league leaders back in the 60s a couple of times, but they weren't good enough to get into the playoffs or anything. I mean, the format was so much different back then too. So it was before the merger, and the Cardinals' biggest nemesis back then was the Cleveland Browns with Jim Brown.
Now the Cardinals, Bob, did they? I mean, you always I don't really remember them much in the '60s being a powerhouse, but were they up there? Maybe behind the Browns, or how good were they?
Yeah, it always came down to the division lead against the Browns, and the Browns would always win. So
no one really remembers the second place team, really, like in the.
No, they didn't, and they don't remember much in the '70s either, because even though they got famous with Don Coryell and Mel Gray and some of the other wide receivers that they had, but they always seemed to stumble against Tom Landry and George Allen.
They were always like pretty good. I felt like they never.
That's right.
At the top, but they were always like, the Cardinals. They were like 9-5, or you go
right.
8-6, and they just couldn't get over the top. And they seemed to have
couldn't.
A huge following nationwide. I remember where I grew up, there was always a lot of Cardinal fans for some reason. I couldn't figure it.
Yeah.
Did you find that nationwide? There's a lot of Cardinal fans out there.
Well, maybe back then. I don't think so much now.
Okay,
but I mean, they still see Cardinal jerseys around now and again.
They changed the bird, right? Didn't the bird used to?
That's what I loved about it. The football team and the baseball team had the same logo, the same colors, everything.
The bird looked a little more not as tough as. Didn't they change the beak of the bird, and the team actually started to?
It was actually that the hair on the top was more like a spike.
Okay.
The Cardinal had like a spike on it.
And then the team got better, right? I mean, I don't know if there's a correlation to it. It's like one of those weird things.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a name for you. Ready?
Yeah.
Jim Bakken.
Bakken, right? I think
that's right.
Jim Bakken, the field goal kicker, right?
Kicker. That's right.
That's right. We called them bags here in St. Louis.
He was good, right? He was pretty consistent. It was him, and then it was Dempsey for New Orleans, and it was Fred Cox for Minnesota, and it was who was the guy in the Redskins?
Mark Mosley.
Mark Mosley, right?
He had like the
Jim
best
Turner was on the Jets,
right? Didn't Mark Mosley have some kind of crazy percentage one year, like 18 out of 19? 50-yard field goals. I know he had a great run for a while. Mark Mosley with the straight-on kicks.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did.
Squared. Yeah. He had the squared off toe. Yep.
All right. So who's the running backs in those days? Yeah, Jim Hart. That's all I remember. Number 17, because I remember 17 to 81. Jim Hart to Mel Gray. Who were the two running backs?
Well, we had Otis Anderson.
Otis Anderson. Right.
And Jim Otis.
Right.
And then Terry Metcalf.
Metcalf.
He was great. He was great. And my
number 21, Terry Metcalf.
My guy that I got, being a Packer fan, MacArthur Lane. I always loved MacArthur.
Played for the Cardinals, right?
In the early 70s, yeah.
Yeah, he played for them too. Yep.
Yeah, then they traded Donnie Anderson for him. Anderson never really performed,
And then, of course, you had Dan Dierdorf and Conrad Dobler. The guy, he would he'd stick he'd kick guys in the balls. He would trip them, right? He was dirty as hell. He'd bite them.
Too.
Yeah. He had that mustache, right?
Can you imagine, Can you imagine with all the cameras today, if he played today, he couldn't do anything?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you can't get a cheap shot in. You can't get a good cheap shot in anymore.
Of course not. No, there's too many cameras watching.
The game was better back then. You're saying? Is that right? What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them play. Yeah.
I can tell you about St. Louis. I mean, I enjoy announcers and broadcasters. One of the best, Jack Buck.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the greatest ever.
Too. Yeah, tell me about Jack Buck. What'd you love about him so much?
Well, he was he taught you about whether it was baseball or even football. He kind of explained to the common man what it was all about, and he was calm about it until it was time to get excited. And he made some great calls over the years, and he just. I mean, listening to him on the radio growing up, and he'd always say at the end, "That's a winner. That's a winner."
Remember the call with Kirk Gibson?
Yeah.
I don't believe what I just saw. You know that when Eckersley threw the pitch? What was the year? See, the years are starting to blend with me.
Was that Jack Buck that did the call, or
it was Jack Buck? It was the Dodgers against Oakland.
Vince Scully didn't Vince Scully?
No. It was the Dodgers against Oakland.
Okay.
So this is, I guess, the year before Oakland won 2 in a row, right? Was it the year before, or was it in the middle? I forget. Hey,
this was. I think this was '88 when this happened.
Okay, and he threw Eckersley threw from the side. And Gibson's got like one leg, he's like hobbling, like the guy on Petticoat Junction. He's got one leg, run, right? And he's getting up, and he gets like a low pitch, and he golfs it, and Jack Buck goes, "I can't believe what I just saw."
Okay. Yeah, I remember the call now. Yeah. He was one of the tops ever. Jack Buck, right? He was up there with Vince Scully.
Jack Buck. I mean, I'm talking about St. Louis products, and Tim McCarver. I'm not saying he's from St. Louis, but he was. Right? Well, he's been there a long time.
Yeah. Football. Yep. I'm trying to think football. Who was in the 80s? Were they good in the 80s?
They were gone in the 80s. There was no Cardinals. Was there a St. Louis Cardinals in the 80s?
There was Arizona? No.
Yeah, there was.
How many years?
Yeah, there was. Oh, God, I guess so. I mean, they didn't leave until early 90s, I think. They left for Arizona.
The 80s are a blank for me. They were the St. Louis Cardinals throughout the 80s, right? Wow. Jackie,
Yeah.
Wait, Jackie Smith. I remember the name. See,
Of course.
it's just starting to pop in my head here. Jackie Smith. Let me give you another
You're
name.
going
Ready?
70s for him. Yeah.
Great tight end. Yeah.
Who was the center for that team? I remember the center had it was somewhat popular. Deerdorf.
I thought it was Ernie McMillan.
Yeah, that wasn't it. I think of somebody. Why did I think
Who was
of
the quarterback after Jim Hart?
No, it was. I'm sorry, it was Bob DeMarco.
Okay, well, because he's Italian, that's why I remember. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Look at that.
After Jim Hart, who was the quarterback for the Cardinals?
Oh, let's see who they get after him. Oh my God, I'm trying to remember.
They were weak in that category, weren't they? In the '80s. I mean, who the heck was?
Yeah, they weren't that great. No.
Well, I could look it up, but
I mean, when you think about it, they had a very mediocre run from '60s, '70s to '80s, right? The St. Louis Cardinals. I mean,
right.
You know,
I mean, Coryell left when he left for San Diego. Then the team kind of went, downhill a little bit.
Didn't Charlie Winter coach the Cardinals and then he coached the Jets?
Charlie Winter.
Charlie Winter. Why do I remember? Right. He was good with the Cardinals. And once again, here go the Jets again. Oh, we got Charlie Winter from the Cardinals. He sucked. He came to the Jets. He sucked. I mean,
That's right. We had Bud Wilkinson too.
Bud Wilkinson. You got to remember Bud Wilkinson.
I remember Bud Wilkinson.
He went to Oklahoma. He was a coach at Oklahoma.
I remember him.
Yeah.
Why do I remember that?
Glasses or no?
He came. It looked like he walked out of a Western.
Okay. John Wayne movie, right?
Bud Wilkinson. What was so? Why did TV like him so much? Well, he became an announcer. He became an announcer for ABC.
Yeah,
It was Keith Jackson and Bud Wilkinson.
Oh,
they did right. They did all the big games.
He was a good announcer, right?
Yeah. That's right.
He knew football.
He did.
He definitely knew football.
Let me ask St. Louis Bob this: when they moved to Arizona, were you still a Cardinal fan?
Yeah, actually, I was. Yeah,
So you
I
stayed
was.
with him. You stayed with him.
Oh, sure. And even now, I'll kind of look at them. I mean, we had this brief period with the Rams, and they won their only Super Bowl, which is that was great too. But they're still not St. Louis's team, so. Hate to say it, but there'll probably never be another pro team here, especially after the XFL folded. So
Why won't there be though? Because of why?
I don't think the city can afford it.
Oh, okay. That's so unfortunate. St. Louis is such a great sports city. You always thought,
It's baseball, and coming up fast right behind it is hockey. Actually, I think there's more.
Well, you have a champion, the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
Here's a name when I was a kid. I remember. Ready for St. Louis Blues? Bartley Plager.
The Plager boys.
That's it. I remember Bartley Plager. I remember Glenn Hall.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, I'm popping in my head. Jacques Plante played for St. Louis for a while, right? Played for Toronto.
They both played together in those first couple years.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They were like one of the first guys to wear masks.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hall was.
Remember when Jerry Cheevers had the mask and he had like the scar marks on it? Right?
Yeah.
Everything he drew on it. So that's St. Louis hockey. But no, they just won a championship. But,
well, the Blues might be.
Well, Brent Hull is the big guy there, right?
Than the football team or the baseball team, right? Or who's more popular in St. Louis, the Cardinals or the Blues? Bob?
Well, I'd still say, by no matter what they do, the Cardinals always they draw just unbelievable amount of people, over 3 million every year. I mean, that's hard.
Wow.
Hard to say whether they're good or if they suck. So
when the Rams came to St. Louis, you then quickly dumped the Arizona Cardinals and went to the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, well, I mean, after that year, I mean, they weren't that good at the beginning because they had somebody like Tony Banks at quarterback, and and they didn't have a whole lot of big names. But then they brought in Dick Vermeil, and he changed things around. And the injury to Trent Green made the way for the Hy-Vee kid, Kurt Warner.
Now, was it hard, Bob? I joke around with Bullseye because he's a Jets fan, and
Yeah.
I know it's not easy. When your football team isn't good.
I'm over it. I can
was
deal with
that? I'm a Packer fan. I had my tough run too in the 70s and 80s, and since the 90s it's been pretty good. But I'm trying to remember. Is it tough to be a fan when your team's no good? I mean, is it hard to get motivated to watch the games? It just cannot be fun when your team's not good.
Well, if you gamble, then you're into every game.
Okay, the gambling brings it up a notch. Okay.
Hey, you still hope. You can still hope that maybe this is the week
Right, you have hope, but you just don't go
put it all
outside.
together.
You don't walk outside just so let anybody know you exist.
Do you wear the uniform still when the team's like 4-12? Or
I used to notice that as soon as a team would win, I noticed people wearing sweatshirts and hats.
they start wearing the logos, right? Yeah.
Right. When the stores used to be open, the sporting goods stores used to see that. If a player had one good season, then you would see the jersey all over the place. I mean, how many Mark Sanchez jerseys was sold? Oh my God!
Who was the greatest St. Louis Cardinal football player ever?
Oh, that's a Bob question. That's a
Someone
Bob
in the
question.
40s that was great, or 50s.
I'd have to say
Is there a
who made
standard of football?
maybe Larry Wilson.
That's right.
Number eight, right?
Larry Wilson, number
Safety.
8, and then of course
Yeah.
Pat Tillman, but that's not St. Louis Cardinals. That was
That was Arizona.
Arizona. The
Right.
guy who died
Right.
went to.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, and then of course, well, we won't talk Arizona. Let's talk back to St. Louis. Mel Gray, that's all I remember. Mel Gray, and who was the other wide receiver?
Let's see. Pat Tilley.
All right, Pat. No. Charlie. What was it? Who was number 22? The defensive back. Charlie. Began with a W.
No, it was Roger Worley.
Roger Worley. You remember Roger Worley?
Yeah. How can you forget that name?
Yeah.
Roger Worley.
Yeah, I remember going to just quickly. I remember sitting at a Big Red game back in the late '70s. Oh, it was the mid '70s or so, and I'm was sitting up, and I've got a fresh beer in my hand, and Roger Worley intercepted a pass, and I dumped it all over the guy in front of me. I said, "Oops!"
And the guy was probably
And that was
okay
the
with
last
it, right?
time he ever dropped a beer.
That's right.
Right. Exactly.
I learned my lesson.
As long as it was something good, the guy was okay with it, though, right? I'm sure he was.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bob, who is?
Actually,
Go. Sorry, go.
I'm just saying, just briefly, it was Roger Worley. My first wife used to babysit his kids.
Hey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
So did you meet him and everything? Or?
Let's get him on.
No, I never did.
Oh, okay.
Is he around? Can we
Okay.
interview him?
Is he still alive? I don't know. Try to get him.
Yeah, he is.
I've got a lot of intriguing questions to ask him.
Okay.
I've got to find things out.
Okay. Bob, who is your? I mean, I know this is a St. Louis thing, but let me hear your top quarterback of the '60s, '70s, and top running backs '60s, '70s. NFL.
Who was the best
I'm
in
gonna
the
put you on-
'60s?
In the '60s and '70s, quarterback and running backs. I'm putting you on the spot.
What do you mean, just St. Louis or everybody?
Everybody.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Jim Brown in the '60s.
Okay. And quarterback.
And the-
Y.A.
Wow.
He's one of my idols
about
because
him.
he's one of my idols because I often feel like he did in that picture. You know that picture where he was, as we
On
say,
his
battered
knees.
and bruised, down
Bloodied and battered.
bloodied and battered, and he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And often
Right.
in the tough times of my life, I look at that picture and I say, I hear you, YA. I feel you.
Y.A.
That's me. And I've coined myself in bad times, YA.
That's what
Yeah.
it off, right? With the blood coming out of his forehead.
The blood,
Yeah.
blood coming out of the forehead, his head is down.
Kneeling like in a deep knee, right? Yeah.
But you
right.
knew he was going to get up to fight
He was tough.
another play.
He was tough. Yeah, 37 TDs one year, right?
with Coach Ali
Yeah.
Sherman.
right,
was Ali Sherman? I don't even remember. Was Ali Sherman the coach?
Who's the running
Ellie
back
Sherman.
of the 70s and the quarterback of the 70s?
Hey, with the questions. Go ahead.
I don't know. Let's see. Bradshaw.
Okay.
Good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yep.
Running back. Let's see.
That's a tough
Oh,
one for
God.
the 70s, right? Because Peyton was
Yeah.
the 80s. So who was the 70s running back?
No, I thought Peyton was in the 70s.
Oh, was he 70s?
Tony Dorsett? No.
Well, if he's a 70s, then I guess he got to be up there, right?
Yeah,
I can't think
I'm
of
not.
any other 70s guys.
Gale Sayers was also very good, but I think he was 60s.
Right. He was. Hey, we're drawing blanks here. We're just regular guys. We'll look it up.
Keep it with St. Louis.
Yeah.
No, well, somebody was great. We'll think of it when the show's over. As soon as I say cut, we'll think of it.
St. Louis, Bob, let me ask this. Can you see when you're watching the football, the baseball game in St. Louis, can you see that? What was that famous thing in St. Louis? What's that thing called?
The arch.
Can you see the arch?
The Arch.
In the stadium.
Augie Bush.
Can you see the arch in the stadium?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I always wondered about that.
Really? I never wondered. I never cared.
That never crossed.
No, I never crossed my mind.
In your view, when you're watching the game, it'd be so.
Well, because when you saw a ball game, they always showed an elevated shot, so you wanted to know if. Can you see it from every angle of the stadium?
You could see it most, except if you were in, the bleachers in left or right center, because it would be behind you. But anywhere down third baseline, first baseline, if you were up high enough, you could see it. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder about these things. What can I say?
Yeah.
No, the Cardinals. Back to the Cardinals. How do we do that? The baseball Cardinals. They have a storied franchise. They
absolutely.
Have fans all over the world, all over the country.
Do they go back to the 1800s, or how far back do they go? The St. Louis Cardinals. They go back way back.
They go back into the late 1800s, I think.
Oh, okay.
They used to be the football team used to be the Chicago Cardinals, right?
Right. But before they were the St. Louis Cardinals, they were the St. Louis Perfectos.
Yeah, wow.
Now, that
how about
is interesting. I never knew that. Okay. That's got to be 1870s then, right?
Late 80s into the 90s, something like that, yeah.
So how many people from St. Louis like Kansas City teams? Is it like they don't even think about it, or are they just...
They're just, they don't really care too much. Now, you talk about Chicago, and it's a different story.
That is the rivalry, Cardinals and the Cubs, right? That's the Yankees, Red Sox, right?
Blues, Blackhawks, especially too. Hockey.
Do you hate the Cubs with a passion, Bob?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
I do not like them.
Did you like Ron Santo and Fergie Jenkins?
Well, Fergie outdueled Gibson a few times, so I didn't like him much.
He had another guy who's had that he had that kick, like a rockette, but he had a short little kick.
Who,
you know what I mean? Fergie.
Yeah.
Like he didn't pick his leg up.
He
I
had a
remember.
quick wind up too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He kind of turned his shoulder.
Interesting, because we hated the Red Sox.
Bill Kessinger, remember them?
Don Kessinger,
Don Kessinger.
Shortstop, right?
And I'm trying to think.
He played for the Cardinals too.
He did?
Yeah, toward the end of his career.
And I'm trying to think also on that Cubs team. I just remember Ron Santo because he was Italian.
Ernie Banks,
right.
Ernie Banks.
Yeah, everybody.
That's when he played shortstop or center field. So he played center field later on or shortstop
No,
later
he
on?
didn't play center field, did he? I thought he played first base after shortstop.
I thought he always played shortstop.
Shortstop and first, right. Shortstop and first.
Yeah, but shortstop very early years. Then he went to first pretty quick. Then I don't remember him playing short like when we were, growing up.
I just remember how they choked in '69. Like they lose like 8 games to the Mets. Like they were that month of September, August. They blew it, right? Leo DeRocha was the manager.
Leo, yeah. Who was the Cardinals manager?
Bill Hands.
In 1970, who was the 69? Who was the Cardinals manager? Was that Red Shandy?
I'm not sure if it was Red Shandy or not. I'm not sure. It could have been.
Well, we're too lazy to look it up, so we figured we'll have our listeners look it up. They'll learn something. So this is what you do. When we don't remember something, look it up and then write us. And if we feel like reading it, we'll read it. But take the time to do it.
There you go.
Okay, so we've established that Larry Wilson was one of the greatest of all time. And
I never thought of that
and your
before.
ex-wife babysitted for Roger Worley.
There you go.
See, people wouldn't have known that.
Now, when you think about it, I mean, it's a pretty tough franchise when your legend franchise guy is Larry Wilson, though, right?
Here he comes with the digs. See, these are subtle digs.
I know he was great, but I have to
say he's a Green Bay Packer fan, Bob.
think that a little bit,
So now he's
I would say
I mean, how many retired numbers are on the board for the Cardinals?
football.
2? Retired
I don't
numbers
know.
for the St. Louis. Okay. I mean, is it a lot of them, or is there a monument?
Yeah, well, probably, Deerdorf is one, and Jim Hart is one, and Mel Gray, and Larry Wilson, obviously.
Okay.
Let's see, who might be somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Pat Fisher was very good with the Cardinals until they let him go to the Redskins.
Number 37. See, I remember him.
Yeah.
Safety, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the Redskins when they lost to the Dolphins in '72. I remember Pat Fisher.
Yeah.
He played with the Cardinals first.
Okay. He's very good, right?
What's that?
Yeah.
He's very good.
No, he was good. No, Pat Fisher.
Yeah.
Pat Fisher was good. So, well, once again, the Cardinals were a pretty good team, and I have nothing else to say about them. What the fuck?
No.
You can only talk about
I just love the Cardinals.
right?
I'm thinking about something else. I'm thinking about the leftovers in the refrigerator right now.
No, they have. they really haven't had any big scandals or anything going on. Anything crazy going on with the team, except I guess Hernandez and I guess Gary Templeton were the two that really.
Gary Templeton. I love Gary Templeton.
He's a shortstop, right?
I used to love
Right.
Gary
Yeah,
Templeton.
he was
Remember?
good. What was his controversy, Bob? I don't remember. Controversy.
He didn't
went to the Phillies.
run out a ball. He didn't run out a ball to first base,
Okay.
and the crowd started booing him. And then he flipped off the fans, and he got into it with Herzog in the dugout. And the next year, we traded Templeton for Ozzie Smith, and you know how that turned out.
Hey, here's a name for you.
Ozzie.
Here's a name for you. Steve Carlton was great with the
Oh, I
Cardinals.
forgot about him.
Yeah,
Great with
Yeah.
the Cardinals. Then he went to the Phillies. See, I'm revived.
yeah,
He was one
I'm
of the
revived.
He was a good pitcher.
He could have stayed with the Cardinals, but they didn't want to give him $10,000 more, and so he went to the Phillies.
And he wouldn't talk to anybody.
No, he
He
wouldn't.
talked to nobody.
If he would have stayed with the Cardinals, that might have turned that around a little bit, right? I mean,
They would have been much better in the '70s than they were. Absolutely.
So do you think Molina is a Hall of Famer? Yes, right?
Yes. Oh, without a doubt.
One of the greatest catchers in Cardinal history? Better than Ted Simmons?
I think so.
Ted Simmons?
I still don't think he doesn't get the recognition that he should. Everybody says that Bench and Pudge Rodriguez was better, but I don't know. Man, there's been more clutch from him than, the way he could from his knees, pick off a guy at first base, and he throws out runners. I mean, he handled the pitching staff like a maestro. It was unbelievable.
I was watching the story why the Cardinals got rid of Ted Simmons to go to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And there was something weird about that trade, right?
I really don't know the details on that, but they wanted I guess Herzog liked Porter better. So
Right,
I think
that's it, Darryl Porter. So they got Darryl Porter.
right.
Right. The Cardinals got Darryl Porter from Milwaukee because he came from Kansas City. Why are we talking about Darryl
But
Porter?
Darryl Porter was a great catcher, right? Wasn't
Yes.
he like a top four?
Darryl, he used to play. He played for Kansas City when the Yankees used to
he
beat
was
him all the
tough. He
time.
was-
Remember,
yeah,
he was on the
that's right.
team.
He was tough. Yeah.
How do we get into Darryl Porter? Nobody babysit for Darryl Porter. Do you know anybody who babysit for Darryl Porter's kids? No.
But what do you like better,
No.
baseball or football?
I still like baseball.
Okay.
All right, I got to ask Bob this one more question. Greatest golfer of all time. Bob's a big golfer.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Come on.
Man, the greatest of all time.
There's
Man,
some obvious
because
names that people are going to say, but I want to know, for whatever reasons you have, other than wins, whatever it's done for you in your life, following people who meant the most, put all of that into consideration.
Arnie.
There you go.
Who?
Arnold Palmer.
Oh.
And look, on my wall, I have a picture of Arnold Palmer and Jackie Gleason
Yeah.
and at Shawnee. And, and it says, "Away we go."
Yep.
Jackie Gleason.
Now is it the three? Arnold Palmer, you have Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. Is that mostly people will say those are the top three? I mean, it's my opinion, but
more people will say, Snead or Hogan was better than Palmer, but what Palmer did to the game of golf, nobody, you just can't, you can't measure that. It never was popular until he hit the scene, and he changed it kind of like Ruth did with baseball.
How did he change it, Bob? How did he change
it? Television and his charisma.
Okay.
Don't forget the lemonade.
Yeah.
He changed a lot. Arnold Palmer lemonade, half and half. Come on, he's an icon.
Yeah. I always get that. Yeah.
Hertz Rent-A-Car. Yep. Remember that?
Yep.
He's a great business.
That and Pennzoil.
Right. I remember his swing. It looked like the club was going to hit him in the ear when he would swing, right? Like
it'd be like a little twirl over the top of his head. And he'd do the thing with his head. And,
he was hot stuff. Arnold Palmer.
Style.
Yeah.
He has a drink after him. There's people drinking that shit. They're going, who the hell is Arnold
Jack
Palmer?
Nicklaus drink, or doesn't he have something too? No.
No, Jack Nicklaus has no drink.
Okay, I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
Fuzzy Zeller, he has a drink, but I don't think Jack Nicklaus has a drink. All right, man. Well, Bob, we're going to be checking in with you quite often as we keep pumping out the content here. So have a good evening, and we're going to be speaking with Bob in the upcoming episodes. Bob, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again, my man.
Thank you, Bullseye. Nice talking with you, Ray.
Buddy.
All right, same here, Bob.
All right, that wraps up another, can I say great? Can I use the word great? Podcast of the Bullseye Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're getting everything out. Spread the word, share, like. We'd love to keep it going. We love doing it. And don't forget, this is the Bullseye Podcast, and the best is yet to come.